Barcelona received a hard blow today, my cool friend. While everything seemed settled and only a few details remained to see Nico Williams with a Blaugrana jersey, Athletic Bilbao announced his contract extension, ending the negotiations and surprising everyone, including Fabrizio Romano, who believed the attacker's arrival at Barcelona was a done deal. But don't worry, because Barcelona already has a plan B. Deco is maneuvering behind the scenes to announce the arrival of a new star as early as next week. To comply with the financial fair play clause, Barcelona has decided to sell some players. Juventus has already made an offer, and the player who was key to last season's treble is about to say goodbye. And speaking of departures, Pep Guardiola has already made contact and could take another Barcelona gem. Stay tuned, because today is packed with news and it's pure madness. My cool friend, I want to thank you for the 1,000 subscribers. This motivates us to continue giving our best and bringing the latest news about our beloved Barcelona. Now, we aim for a new goal, so don't waste time, help us reach 5,000 subscribers, hit the bell, and let's get to what matters. According to Mundo Deportivo, Barcelona continues to face major obstacles on the path to normalizing financial fair play. And as always, Javier Tebas is at the center of it all. The league he presides over has once again clipped the club's wings, even after all the efforts of the CUEL management to operate under the one-for-one rule. The reality is that Barcelona is at the doorstep of freedom but still cannot cross the threshold, and the reason is enough to exasperate any supporter. The straw that broke the camel's back was the sale operation of the VIP boxes, which was supposed to inject €100 million into the club's coffers, but was cancelled by the league in April, despite being approved and finalized in December. Consequently, the body does not recognize this revenue and, worse, has removed Barcelona's condition of being within the fair play framework since April 2nd. A direct stab to the sports plan. Just when the club was trying to make a strong comeback on the market, the management did not stay idle. They moved quickly and maneuvered to reduce the wage bill. Ansu Fati was loaned to Monaco, freeing up about €8 million in wages, and Clement Lenglet was permanently transferred to Atletico de Madrid, saving €6.4 million per season. But even that was not enough to convince Tebas and his company. And it's not over. As long as Barcelona has not fully recovered financial fair play, it will not be able to freely reinvest what it saves or earns. For example, if it sells a player, it can only use 20% of the amount to sign another. This percentage rises to 35% only if it is a franchise player. The same rule applies to wages. Barcelona can only use 60% of what it frees up to register another player, or 70% if it is a star. In summary, Barcelona is running, yes, but with balls and chains on its feet. It is clear that the club continues to seek solutions. Pablo Torre and Inaki Pena are next on the list of possible departures. But as long as the issue of the VIP boxes is not resolved, the long-awaited dream of the one-for-one will remain under lock and key. And amid all this, an inevitable question looms in the air. Are we really facing a strict application of the league's regulations, or is there some pleasure in continuing to complicate the life of the greatest club in Spain? According to the Portal Fishages, Pep Guardiola wants to take Fermin Lopez to Manchester City, and Barcelona supporters are already starting to bite their nails. Attention, CUEL, once again, our homegrown talent is in the sights of the Premier League millionaires, and not just any coach. We are talking about Pep Guardiola, our former leader, the same one who now dreams of making Fermin the new De Bruyne. Yes, you read that right. The mythical number 17 of City has left for Naples, and Pep did not hesitate to ask for a replacement of the same caliber. Guess who is at the top of his list? None other than our number 16. Blaugrana blood, straight out of La Masia. Fermin shone under the orders of Hansi Flick last season, playing 46 matches, scoring 8 goals, and providing 9 assists. Without always being a starter, he was key, combative, with class in his feet, a vision of the game, and an arrival in the box, an untiring engine in midfield. Some supporters already see him as the new Iniesta, and it's not without reason, but now Manchester City is coming in strong with money, a project, and above all, Guardiola as bait. And no one knows the DNA of Barcelona better than Pep. As if that were not enough, the club is still conditioned by financial fair play and needs revenue to register signings. Although the management does not want to let him go, they know that if a millionaire offer arrives, the situation could become unsustainable. And as if that were not enough, rumors of Ter Stegen's departure are also circulating, with Manchester United ready to put €20 million on the table. Thus, the Cule supporter finds themselves caught in a whirlwind of speculations, seeing important pieces of the team become targets while the market gives no respite. Now, tell me, Cule, until when will Barcelona continue to train jewels for the giants of England to come with suitcases and take them away? Do you think Guardiola is helping or burying the club that led him to the pinnacle of world football? According to the Spanish newspaper El Correo and widely reported by Mundo Deportivo, FC Barcelona has just suffered one of the biggest dribbles of the season, and it wasn't on the field. Nico Williams, the club's top target to strengthen the wings, made an unexpected turn and decided to stay at Athletic Club until 2035. And pay attention, he did it with a symbolic video full of emotion, sending a clear message to Barcelona, Bayern, or any other European giant. My heart has a crest. No cold press releases, no pompous press conferences. Athletic did it their way, a simple video, straight to the heart, which in 30 seconds shattered the hopes of Cule supporters. Nico, wearing a black hoodie, enters the vandalized mural of Baracaldo, the one he shared with his brother Inaki and which was painted by supporters fearing his departure, and with a red spray, he writes a huge 2035. Then, he appears at San Mamés, takes off his hood, looks at the camera and says, "When it comes to making decisions, it's the heart that speaks the loudest." And that's it, no twists, no bids. While Barcelona was making calculations and looking for space in financial fair play, Nico had already decided. He is not leaving. Neither Bayern, nor millions, nor the Champions League. The boy chose to stay where he believes, and he did it with style. But the message was not only emotional, it was also strategic. Nico Williams renewed for 8 more years, and his termination clause, which was 58 million, now far exceeds 90, blocking any short-term recruitment attempts. Additionally, he will inherit the mythical number 10 of Iker Muniain, who left the club this season. In Bilbao, pride does not fit in the chest. In its official statement, Athletic celebrated the decision as an ideological victory. They don't just play to win matches, they play to keep a unique identity alive in world football. In an era where money reigns and players change jerseys like shoes, Nico decided to put down roots. And that, my Cule friend, is not seen every day. At Camp Nou, the silence is deafening. For 2 consecutive summers, Barcelona dreamed of Nico Williams as the solution for the left wing. Now, they will have to find another alternative, and the Blaugrana supporters, already accustomed to refusals for economic reasons, suffer another blow, this time for love of the crest. And now, the question that remains hanging while looking at the stands of the Spotify camp is, does Barcelona still have that power of seduction that made people fall in love, or has it become a prisoner of its own numbers and promises that always arrive too late? According to the newspaper Marca, the departure of Inaki Pena from FC Barcelona is increasingly likely. And this time, it seems serious. The goalkeeper trained at LAMINE, who still has a contract until June 2026, has already gotten the message. His place in the club has vanished and, moreover, he would already have his head elsewhere, outside of Spain, with his bags packed and an international destination in sight. Yes, Cule, another one from the house is about to say goodbye, and not precisely of his own free will. With Ter Stegen well established as the starter, the arrival of the young Joan Garcia, and the likely extension of Szczesny, the panorama is saturated and number 13 is completely sidelined. Even when the German was injured for months, Pena did not have continuity. In his place, the management went to look for a retired goalkeeper, reactivated Szczesny, and left Inaki warming the bench. During the 2024-25 season, he played 23 matches, conceding 25 goals and keeping his goal unscathed on 7 occasions, but even that was not enough to change his eternal role as a substitute. And now, his plan seems clear. He wants a new start, preferably outside the league. A better positioned club, none other than Galatasaray in Turkey. And this is not just talk. They already know Inaki, who defended their goal during the 2021-22 season. With the departure of the idle Fernando Muslera to Estudiantes de La Plata, the position is vacant and, from Barcelona, there are no signs that they will put obstacles in the way of his departure. But be careful, this does not mean that Pena has completely closed the door to the league. If a serious proposal arrives at the last minute, he could stay in Spain. Teams like Espanyol, which has lost its starting goalkeeper, and Celta de Vigo, which will play in the Europa League and has not yet renewed with Guaita, are very attentive. One thing is no longer discussed at Can Barca. Inaki Pena is leaving. He is leaving as that Canterano who never received a real opportunity to establish himself, always in the shadow of Ter Stegen and without support when he needed it most. A player who has always been present when called upon, but who received silence from the management in response and saw how external options were preferred. And now, the question comes back to you, Blaugrana supporter. Would you let Inaki Pena go, or would you finally give him a real opportunity as a starter in Barcelona's goal? According to the newspaper Mundo Deportivo, Girona might be on the verge of offering a real gift to FC Barcelona, possibly even without realizing it. The protagonist is none other than Mika Marmol, a 24-year-old central defender trained at La Masia, who currently plays for UD Las Palmas but has 1 foot out of the island team after their relegation in the 2024-25 season. And here's what's interesting. Barcelona still retains 50% of the player's economic rights, as well as a buyback clause it reserved during his transfer in 2022. In other words, if Mika is sold, even if he no longer wears the Blaugrana jersey, half of the operation will go directly into the club's coffers without lifting a finger. According to the Spanish press, Girona is pushing hard behind the scenes. The sporting director K. Carcel has Marmol among his favorites to strengthen the defense, and the player himself would be enthusiastic about the idea of a change of scenery after Las Palmas dropped to the second division. Girona, which will play in European competitions, is looking to raise the level of its squad. Everything indicates that it will. The operation would revolve around 5 to 6 million euros, which would already be a nice sum for Barcelona. But the juiciest detail is elsewhere. The president of Las Palmas, Miguel Ángel Ramírez, has clearly indicated that they will only let Mika go if the full termination clause, set at 10 million euros, is paid. And that's where the Cule supporter starts to rub their hands. If this full clause is paid, Barcelona pockets 5 million euros net instantly, without negotiation, without delays, without promises. Fresh money that comes at just the right time. And at a time when the club is struggling to comply with financial fair play and needs revenue as soon as possible to register reinforcements, every euro counts, especially if it comes from a homegrown player who no longer occupies a place in the first team. But be careful, it's not that simple. Girona is still trying to close the transfer for a price lower than the clause, and other clubs like Roma and Espanyol have also shown interest. In fact, Espanyol found itself without starting central defenders, and playing in the league against a direct rival like Girona could influence the player's decision. And meanwhile, a nagging question persists among the Cules most attentive to the Cantera. How is it possible that Mika Marmol never had a real opportunity in the first team? He was loaned out, then transferred, and now he could explode with a direct rival or even shine abroad, while Barcelona watches from afar. And now, it's your turn to answer, Blaugrana supporter. Would you prefer that Barcelona pockets those millions without further delay, or that it activates the buyback clause and finally gives a real opportunity to the boy who grew up with the crest on his chest? According to the newspaper Sport, Juventus is preparing a new offensive to take Ronald Arujo out of FC Barcelona, and this time it is coming with everything to conclude the deal in this very transfer window. If before the negotiations had cooled down, now things are getting serious. Cule supporter, pay attention to this saga that is starting to accumulate increasingly tense chapters. In January of this year, Arujo was very close to packing his bags for Turin. Juve had shown real interest. Barcelona had listened to the offers, but ultimately, an extension had been signed and the Uruguayan had stayed. However, since then, the atmosphere has changed. Over the last few months, the supporters' patience with the central defender seems to have run out. Criticism has increased, especially after several performances below the expected level. And many already consider that Araujo's cycle at Camp Nou is coming to an end. A player who, in his time, was seen as the future of the Blaugrana defense. Today, his status is being questioned, both by the supporters and by the new technical management of Hansi Flick, who has not yet clarified if he counts on him as a pillar of the new project. And this is where Juventus reappears, which has never forgotten Arujo and is now preparing a more forceful offensive. According to the same source, the Italian club wants to put around 30 million euros on the table to recruit the defender outright. Leading this operation is coach Igor Tudor, who has already given his approval for his arrival and considers him the ideal piece to strengthen his defensive line. The offer, although significant, could still be subject to negotiation, but it must be remembered that Barcelona is going through a delicate financial situation and needs to balance the accounts urgently. Selling a player with Araujo's market value could be one of the few solutions to generate income without completely dismantling the sports project. That said, the club will not let him go at any price. Arujo still has market value, he is young, and his history with the Blaugrana jersey is solid. But the initial 30 million from Juventus already clearly shows that the proposal is serious and that the interest is not just an intention. And now, the big question that looms is the following. Is Arujo worth it at this moment of transition for the club, or is there still room for him to find his best version and become the pillar of our defense again? It's up to you to judge, Cule. Would you sell Arujo now to secure that economic revenue, or would you give him one more season to prove that he can still lead Barcelona's defense?